Hello there. Hope you are doing well. So here we have another reading comprehension passage, and the direction for this question is answer the following question based on the information given below. Well, we know that such kind of a reading comprehension passage come out with a 340 to 400 words based passage. So and a candidate needs to means have a quick reading skills as well as to jot down the main points and make a kind of a connotation to understand the passage where he finds out some of the difficult words and as well as means the kind of a text, right? So, which he might not familiar, but we need to go for the overall understanding of the text, right? So at first, let's go for the text. What does this particular text tells you? So let's read the text. Uh, the text begins with, it seems hard to credit in a society so utterly reconfigured by the digital evolution or revolution that was to come. But for curious kids growing up in the late 1980s and early 90s, the world still seemed a depthless prospect. Borders were impermeable, the nations they concealed were incomprehensible, varied, and vast. It was a world that could only be glimpsed and never surveyed, in which encyclopedias and atlases hinted at a planet still rife with mystery. In elementary school, my favorite books were the adventure series by Willard Price, published between 1940 and 1980. The 14 Slim novels followed the exploits of two brothers. Who are they? Hal and Roger Hunt, as they traveled the globe collecting rare animals for their father's Long Island Zoo. Hal, the elder, was the archetypal traveling hero, 17 years old, adept, absolutely brave, astral and strong as his father. But I identify more with the younger brother, Roger, who was eager but green and accident prone. The stories were surreal in their eventfulness, each chapter opening on another shootout or dangerous animal encounter. As the boys carried from one aspect uh, yeah, carried from one escapade to the next. In Amazon Adventure 1949, the first book in the series, shy and rare jungle creatures, tapirs, anacondas, jaguars, materialize. Um, you can say that at their feet each time they step ashore. Together, the boys wrestle this temperamental fauna into submission and stuff it aboard a boat. They anoint the hour, upon which they drift down South America's great river, pursued all the while by the bullets and arrows of psychopathic rivals and head-hunting Indians. Reading it back now, it's tempting to laugh at the narrative's unlikehood. We can only wonder at the rationale of the boy's father, John Hunt, a man of presumably lunatic irresponsibility and questionable ethics, as he dispatches two teenage sons to pilfer endangered species from the four corners of the world. However, for all their far-fetched plot lines, it occurs to me in hindsight that the books encapsulated much about the life that I, a fatherless kid, easily bored, would grow to covet. The cinematic, event-filled life, the mythic shadowed father Hurl, the surrogate, the surmounting every challenge. The boy feigning courage, it was a pulp fiction allegory for my state. Uh, of mind. On page 84 of the Amazon adventure, the truth is the kid was scared to death. For the time being, my own adventures and indeed the mainstreaming of adventurous travel were far in the future. During childhood, I went overseas a handful of times, but we never left Europe, and whatever happiness I found in those trips was transitory, overshadowed as they often were by my mom's melancholy. The truth was that foreign travel, as it would grow to be enjoyed, was yet to make its full debut. My parents' generation had interrailed around Europe. Since the early 1960s, when the first charter flights unlocked the Mediterranean mass tourism market, a growing cohort of British holidaymakers had started to venture south for an annual summer vacation. The bourgeois had discovered, bourgeois indicating the middle class, discovered the joys of alpine skiing. But as far as most Brits were concerned, Britons, the far off places beyond Western Europe could stay that way. The geopolitical volatility of the late Cold War, which presented the countries of Africa, Asia, and Latin America as theaters of conflict, famine, and totalitarianism, did not suit the brochure. Now, if you look at the question here, right, what is it stated? What is it highlighted in the passage collectively? So, as far as we understood the passage reflects on the sense of what? Sense of mystery, right? Sense of mystery and adventure. Mystery and adventure associated with the late 1980s, late 1980s. So, and early 1990s. 90s. So, a time when the digital revolution had not yet reshaped the world. For children of that era, the world felt vast and mysterious, with information about distant places being limited to encyclopedias and atlases. The author reminiscence about or remembrance about their favorite childhood books, the adventure series, right? Uh, you can also say that the adventure series by Willard Price. So, which followed the thrilling escape of two brothers, and we talk about Hall and Roger Hunt as they traveled the world collecting animals for their father's zoo. The author identified more with Roger, the younger, less capable brother, and reflects on how the book symbolized their own longing for adventure and a life filled with the cinematic excitement, isn't it? Mm, the passage also creates a kind of a contrast, right? So the contrast the author limited childhood experience with to travel against the bourgeoisie era, right? So or bourgeois of adventure travel and the broader opportunity that would come out in the future. The author notes that during their youth, international travel was still limited and often overshadowed by personal circumstances and broader geopolitical issues, isn't it? So that's what is the passage all about. And if we talk about the main idea of the passage, it is nothing but a nostalgia, right? Or nostalgic reflection on the sense of adventure and mystery of the pre-digital era, focusing on how childhood books and limited travel experiences shaped the author's perception of the world, isn't it? The passage contrasts this with the changing landscape of travel and adventure that would develop in latter years. So, and if you see that what the author's tone in this text is what is a reflective and nostalgic, and there is a sense of, you can say, wistfulness as they look back on their childhood sense of wonder and compare it to the present. The tone is also, you can say, somewhat critical, right? As the author humorously questioned the impracticality and ethics of the adventures depicted in the adventure series, while also accepting how these stories resonated with their own desires and experiences. So in that case, if we look into the source of this passage, it is nothing but an excerpt from a memoir or personal reflection. As we can find out, the author is sharing uh, one of the moment. Mm. So likely from a book or article discussing the impact of childhood literature and travel experiences on the author's worldview. It actually gathers personal anecdotes with a broader reflection, isn't it? So that's what you would find out. Let's go to the question. The questions point out what is highlighted in the passage collectively. Now, if I talk about that, the question asks us to the main focus, determine the main focus of the passage as a whole. So you need to identify what is emphasized or discussed most prominently throughout the passage, right? So in that case, if you look at the first one, the fascination with the adventure stories among kids in the 1980s and 90s. Now, the option points to the interest children had in adventure stories during the late 20th century. While this is mentioned in the passage, it is only a part of the, you can say that broader context, isn't it? Okay, let's look at the two. The perception of the world before the digital revolution. So this option highlighted the main theme of the passage, which indicating that it is the way the world was perceived before digital technology made information more accessible, right or not? So uh, you can say that what the passage discusses how the world seemed vast and mysterious and contrast this with the present, isn't it? So in that case, um, let's look at the third one to draw. So third one, the ethical consideration uh, in wildlife adventure narratives. So this option refers to the, you can say, ethical issues related to wildlife depicted in adventure stories. Although the passage does briefly mention ethical concern, it is not the primary focus, you can say that, right? So if we look at the next option, option four, it is stated the impact of geopolitical the impact of geopolitical events on children's literature. This option addresses how global political events, you can say that, influence children's book. The passage does mention geopolitical issues, but this is not the, you can say that, central theme. So hence you can also say option 4 is eliminated, right? So what we can find out, the first option discuss the fascination with adventure stories, but this is only a part of the broader discussion, but not the main theme. To the perception of the world before the digital revolution, yes, it is the correct one. So because it identifies the main focus for the passage, which is the perception of the world before digital technology, and how it differed from the present. Right. And three, which is stated the ethical consideration in wildlife's adventures and narratives. While ethical considerations are mentioned, they are not the main point of the passage. So three is eliminated, four, two also. So here we can find out answer option two is correct because the perception of the world before the digital revolution is the main highlighted, right, in the passage. So hence we can say option two is a correct answer here. Hope you understood this. That's all. Thank